"Keep your hands up," the young recruit shouted, pressing the muzzle of his rifle to the back of her head. Every other soldier froze. Half a dozen recruits formed a tight circle around her, grinning like this was some kind of hazing game. But the woman at the center didn't flinch. She didn't speak. She didn't even raise her hands. She just stood there, calm as still water, her eyes locked on the horizon like nothing had happened. Her name was Sergeant Riley Voss, and to the fresh meat of Echo Company, she was just the quiet, awkward female trainer who never barked orders or strutted around with bravado. They called her librarian behind her back, because she didn't look like she belonged in a place like this. But they were about to find out exactly why appearances are the most dangerous kind of lie. The ringleader, Recruit Jacobs, young, loud, and drunk on his own testosterone, stepped closer and tapped her shoulder with the stock of his weapon. "You're in the Army now, sweetheart," he sneered. "Time to toughen up." Another recruit snorted. Maybe she'd get more respect if she smiled once in a while. Their laughter echoed across the field like a pack of wolves circling an injured deer. But they weren't circling a deer. They were circling a panther. Then Jacobs did the one thing you never do to someone trained to kill with her bare hands. He raised his weapon. He never saw it coming. In less than 3 seconds, Riley spun on her heel, ripped the rifle from his grip, snapped his wrist backward with a crunch, and slammed him into the dirt face first. The laughter vanished. The only sound now was Jacobs groaning in pain, his mouth full of dust, her boot on his back. She didn't shout. She didn't gloat. She just held the weapon like it belonged to her, which it did, and said, "Weapon safety is not a joke, Private. You just aimed a loaded gun at a superior officer." A siren wailed in the distance as instructors came sprinting across the lot. The circle of recruits scattered. But by then, the moment was over. The damage was done, and a legend was born. By nightfall, the story had gone viral across the base. "She took him down in one move. She barely blinked. She used to be special ops." Rumors turned into research, and what they found stunned them silent. Sergeant Riley Voss wasn't just a drill instructor. She was former Delta Force, 12 covert missions, multiple confirmed rescues, and one of the first women ever embedded in a joint special operations task force. Her record was so redacted it looked like Swiss cheese. Word was she once carried a wounded teammate for 3 miles through enemy territory, with a bullet in her leg and no backup. But she never talked about it, never even hinted. She let them laugh, let them mock, let them believe she didn't belong, until one of them put a rifle to her skull. Jacob spent the next 2 weeks in the infirmary, his arm in a sling, his pride in pieces. When the commander visited, he didn't say much, just stood there with a clipboard and said, "She could have ended your career. Instead, she taught you the most valuable lesson you'll ever learn. Never mistake silence for weakness." Out on the training field, Riley stood alone, unloading rounds into a paper target 2 football fields away. Each shot, a perfect bullseye. She wasn't proving anything. She didn't have to. But everyone who watched her that day stood a little straighter afterward. Things started to change. The recruits who used to laugh now saluted her first. The ones who whispered behind her back now asked her for guidance. She never raised her voice. She never demanded respect. She earned it by surviving more than most of them could even imagine. One night during a thunderstorm, Riley spotted Jacobs alone in the rain, doing push-ups as part of his punishment. He was soaked to the bone, shivering, struggling to finish the set. She didn't say a word, just walked over and held the bar steady as he collapsed beneath it. "Why didn't you report me?" he asked through ragged breaths. She looked him dead in the eye and said, "Because I've made worse mistakes, and someone gave me a second chance." That was the moment it all clicked for him. She wasn't just a soldier, she was a survivor. And survivors don't waste time seeking revenge. They build the next generation to be better. Weeks later, during the final endurance test, a 20-mile ruck march under full gear, Jacobs was the first to fall. But this time, he didn't quit. He pushed through cramping legs, bloodied feet, and the voices in his head telling him to give up. He finished dead last, but he finished. And when he crossed the line, Riley stood there, waiting. "I wanted to quit 100 times," he gasped, "but I kept seeing your face in my head." She nodded once, subtle. then maybe now you know who you are. This story isn't about war. It isn't about guns or glory. It's about how the strongest person in the room is usually the one you overlook, the one you mock, the one you underestimate, until it's too late. Sergeant Riley Voss didn't shout to earn respect. She simply waited. For the moment, they gave her no choice, and they never forgot her again. Before we wrap up, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share your thoughts, and subscribe to be part of this growing community of dreamers and doers. Your next life-changing story might be just one click away.